You are listening to Unstoppable Actors, the essential podcast for ambitious, unknown actors with me, Louise, the artistic director of Standby Method Acting Studio. And for the last 13 years, I've been taking unknown actors with blank CVs all the way to Netflix dramas, Amazon Prime films, TV soaps, and stage plays around the world. And every week I'll be talking with you and sharing how you can become a paid working unstoppable actor, because you 1000% can. An acting career is doable. Are you ready to dive into the episode? Hey, welcome back to the podcast. If you are a regular listener, welcome back. And if this is your first episode, a very big welcome to you too. I really do hope this is going to be the first of many episodes you listen to. We've got many listeners all around the world, some who've been listening for around 4 years, some who are brand new to the podcast, and you are all welcome here because my goal with this podcast is super duper simple. I want to help you create more truthful performances. I want to help you feel more confident in your acting and ultimately enjoy the process of bringing characters to life, because fun is the reason we first got into this in the first place. Wouldn't you agree? And today we're talking about something that catches almost every actor out at some point in their career. And it doesn't matter whether you're new, whether you're returning to the industry from a break, or whether you've been at this years and you are grafting away for that first breakthrough television role. Because if you have ever worked really hard on a character, but still felt like something wasn't clicking, then you are going to relate to this, and this is a really good episode for you, and you're going to take a lot from it. Before we dive in, I would love to invite you to something truly special. This July, we have our summer 10-week method acting module, The War Project, and it is such a good module. It is one of our most loved modules, and it's the one that stays with our acting students for absolutely years. And the reason being is because you play a character who once lived in history, a real person. And it is your opportunity to create one of the most truthful characters you have ever played, to step into their shoes for real, to step into the shoes of a real person from history and to uncover how they thought, what they feared, what they dreamed of, and what it was like to live their life. Now, there's no script for this. It's immersive, it's challenging, and it is very emotional. And it's the closest that so many actors come to experiencing what it feels like to truly live as a character. And they honestly create some of their best work ever. So as I've already said, we begin Wednesday the 22nd of July, and you can find out more about it and complete an application form over at tinyurl.com/10-week method acting, or just hit the link underneath where you've pressed play. Right, let's jump in. So this episode today is all about the character trap that most actors fall into. And I want to start with a definition, because I always feel like a definition is a really good place to begin. And the dictionary defines character as the mental and moral qualities distinctive to an individual. So in other words, character isn't an accent, it isn't a walk, it isn't a costume, it isn't a hairstyle. Yes, of course, they're important. They make up part of a character's identity, but it's actually the unique collection of thoughts, beliefs, values, and experiences that make somebody who they are. And then the costume and the hairstyle all comes after that. And this is where actors can sometimes get themselves into a little bit of trouble, because when we're building a role, it is very tempting to start with the obvious things: the voice, the accent, the mannerisms, the posture, facial expressions. And don't get me wrong, as I've already said, these things absolutely matter. They are important. that they aren't the character. They're evidence of the character. So if you think about it this way, when detectives arrive at a crime scene, they don't mistake the clues for the crime. The clues point them towards what happened, and it allows them to build a full picture. And voice, accent, and mannerisms work exactly the same way. They're clues. They're telling us something about the person underneath. And so if we only focus on the clues by themselves, what we often end up creating is a performance that feels impressive on the surface, but it's empty underneath. And that's why sometimes you'll watch an actor and think, well, technically that were very good, but you don't feel anything. And then you'll watch another actor who barely seems to be doing anything at all, and I can think of billions off the top of my head. Well, maybe not billions, but certainly people like Morgan Freeman, Ryan Gosling, Bradley Cooper, Viola Davis, Angelina Jolie. You think about these actors, they seem to be doing nothing, and yet you can't take your eyes off them. And the difference is usually psychology. And psychology simply means the way somebody thinks, feels, and behaves. It's the inner workings of the human mind. Now, we don't need to all go out and get a psychology degree, and we don't all need to go and become psychologists. What we do need to do is start understanding what goes on beneath the surface in characters. And for actors, psychology is where the character begins, because thoughts create behaviour. That is so important. I'm going to say it again. Thoughts create behaviour. So let me give you an example. Imagine, and you might be able to relate to this example actually, imagine somebody walks into a room believing nobody likes me. So if someone walks into a room believing nobody likes me, how will they speak? How are they going to stand in that room? How much eye contact are they going to make? How quickly are they going to apologise? How comfortable are they going to be at expressing opinions? Now we can flip this on its head. Imagine somebody walks into that very same room and they believe, I belong here. Everything's going to change, isn't it? The voice changes, the posture changes, the confidence changes, the behaviour changes. They are much more likely to voice their opinions. They are much more likely to take up space in that room. They are much more likely to stand in a confident, solid position. They're much more likely to talk to more people. And that is simply because their thoughts created them. And this is why psychology sits underneath everything else in acting. So let's take voice, for example, because it is important. And Academy Award winner Daniel Day-Lewis once said that voice is an incredibly personal reflection of character. And I completely agree with him, because your voice does tell a story about your life. Mine does too. I'm from Sheffield. You can probably hear it. Some of you, because you're from outside of the UK, might not have ever even heard of Sheffield, might not know where it is. It's a northern city in England. And for some of you who are familiar with it, you can probably hear my accent. But my accent isn't as strong on the podcast as when I'm chatting to my friends or family, because without even thinking about it, I've adjusted my accent because my circumstances have changed, and I'm aware that I've got people listening to this podcast from around the world. So I can't come onto this podcast going, hey, up, Doc, let's talk about acting today, because some of you would never have even heard of A Up, and certainly not A Up Doc. You'd be like, what? What's she talking about? My audience has changed. So I was talking about the circumstances have changed, and that is my audience. You guys have changed. My environment's changed. And that's exactly what happens with characters. So I've had a thought in my head, which is, well, I need people to understand what I'm saying. So even though my accent is there, it has to be diluted slightly. And as I've just said, this is what happens with characters. Voice isn't fixed. It's influenced by experience. It's influenced by confidence. It's influenced by status. It's influenced by relationships. And years ago, before I became an acting coach, between acting jobs, I worked in a school which specialised in autism. And there was this one boy there whose voice always stood out to me. It was husky, and it sounded like it was almost permanently strained. And my instincts told me something wasn't right. He sounded like somebody who spent a lot of time shouting. And yet at school, he was quite quiet. And later, I learned that he was experiencing abuse at home. And it absolutely broke my heart. And then it was like out of nowhere, his voice made sense to me. That voice, the strain in it and the huskiness of it and the cracking in it, that wasn't random. That was a reflection of his home experience, his environment, his reality after school. And that's what actors need to become curious about. Not just what does this character sound like, but why do they sound like that? So let's take another example. Some of you will be familiar with this person, especially if you're in the UK, Margaret Thatcher. So Margaret Thatcher was a Prime Minister back in the 80s in the UK. And when you watch footage of her early political career and then you compare it to footage later in a time as Prime Minister, you will notice significant differences. Her voice changed, her mannerisms changed, her physical presence changed. And why? Why did these change? Because her circumstances changed. And circumstances bring about new thoughts in our heads. So later in her career, she was operating in a position of extraordinary power and also scrutiny in what was a man's world. And those experiences shaped how she presented herself. And again, we are brought back to two questions. And these questions are, which you should be asking for every single character, what do I think about myself? And what do I think other people think about me? And honestly, if you take nothing else from today's episode, take those two questions because they unlock so much. What do I think about myself? What do I think other people think about me? And those questions reveal all sorts. They reveal confidence, shame, pride, fear, status, insecurity, ambition. And when you ask those two questions, all of those things that I've just mentioned eventually show up in voice, behaviour, and mannerisms. So in method acting, we start from the inside out. And this can feel a little bit overwhelming when you're first learning method acting. And many actors worry that they're going to get it wrong and they overthink or they head completely in the wrong direction. But here is the good news. You don't have to figure it all out at once. You simply have to start with curiosity. Because curiosity is what great character work is built on. Not certainty, curiosity. So if you start with those two questions, you are in a really, really good place to be starting from curiosity. So the next time you're working on a character, don't start with the accent, don't start with the walk, don't start with the mannerisms. Instead, ask those two questions. What does this person think about themselves? And what do they think other people think about them? And then go back through the script and look for evidence. Look at how they speak, look at how they behave, look at how they respond under pressure, And you will be amazed at how much of this stuff really starts to reveal itself to you and how much easier it feels to connect to the character. And if you'd love the opportunity to put this work into practice by stepping into the life of a real person from history, applications for the War Project are open now. So just imagine spending 10 weeks uncovering not just what somebody did, not just the fact that they were a code breaker, but who they were, what shaped them, what drove them, what made them unique. Because that is the journey that we're going to be taking together this summer. So you can go and find all of the details and complete an application form over at tinyurl.com/10-week method acting, or hit the link underneath where you've hit play. Thank you for listening. I really hope this has opened up your mind to connecting to those characters more deeply, and I'll see you in the next episode.
I've absolutely loved hanging out with you, and I really hope you found this episode inspiring. If you have, please do rate the podcast and hit follow so you never miss an episode, and I can help more actors like you. And come and join one of the most supportive, uplifting acting communities on socials, the Unstoppable Actors Facebook group, where you'll get your weekly injection of inspiration, networking, and receive your free Method Actors handbook so you can become an unstoppable actor.